Good. I would like to call the regular meeting of the Rome Board of Education for March 10th, 2022. In session, we had at 5 o'clock. We opened the meeting at 5 o'clock to talk what was it about contradiction. And now we're going to our regular meeting. So I will start off with the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item is to approve the minutes of regular meeting from February 28th. I move that.
Second.
Second by Ms. McGurr. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Blake, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Just a quick addition in the finance department, if we can have a brief discussion on a budget development workshop. So we'll put a final touch on that sometime in the next couple of weeks. Just want to try and get a date together.
And report to the school.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Sorry, it's a little bit warm in here. As you may or may not know, the other half of the building where the early childhood program is had a pump fail last night, so they didn't have heat all day. So in order to get school open tomorrow, we've turned the heat up in the entire building up to 80 to try and warm it up overnight. The pump will be repaired and ready for tomorrow, but we want to get the building temperature up over there. So we are a little bit toasty in here tonight. So thank you for enduring that punishment, but we will have EPC early childhood tomorrow. So thank you to our facilities department for all their work today to make sure that that got accomplished and we have the kids back. A couple of just announcements. March 18th, next Friday, is a half day for students. So if you didn't have that on your radar, please get that on your radar. Board of Education petition packets are available in the business office. So if you are interested or know somebody interested in a board seat, those packets are available in the board office for pickup. They are due on April 27th. Is the date for packets to be returned. Also, a couple of updates. Next Tuesday night at 6 p.m. in the RFA small auditorium, we have a capital project referendum presentation. That presentation was done virtually last night for anyone that just kind of wants to hear the nuts and bolts. There is a section on our website that has the newsletter, the slide deck from last night, and the video from last night. It's about 15 minutes long, just to kind of walk through what is in that capital project. But next Tuesday night will be another meeting, face-to-face, in-person RFA. So if you have questions about what that vote is, please come out next Tuesday night and ask those questions, or you can email them to myself or Mr. Meza, and we will get back to you with answers as soon as we can. On the heels of that, the capital referendum vote is the following Tuesday, March 22nd, at each of our voting locations. Those are on the website. They're in the newsletter. Newsletters were mailed home, so you should receive them soon if you have not already. That vote happens from 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. on Tuesday, March 22nd at our different locations. Spring sports starting on Monday officially, so hopefully the snow on Saturday is it, and we can get on with spring. So cross our fingers. Nice to hear that we're into our third sports season. Also on Saturday, March 12th, this is this coming Saturday at Rome Free Academy, 4 p.m. We are hosting our first Winter Guard show in Rome's history. So you can think back a few years ago, our Winter Guard was a state champion Winter Guard. It is not easy to get to be a show host. It's a very challenging task. So fortunately, our team up there did a great job getting a host show. And where state championships are 2 weeks away, so getting something this close to championships is a really big deal. If it sounds like I'm getting a little crazy about it, I'm a Winter Guard marching band guy. That was my previous life before superintendent. So I did a lot of my life work was in this activity. It's great for Rome to have that show. RFA is by far one of the best facilities for that activity, and I think that once they get in there Saturday and you see it, we will grow into one of the biggest venues for that activity. So congratulations to our guard staff, our marching band staff, our whole program, our kids. I'm really happy to see that happen. So that begins Saturday at 4 p.m. at RFA. And lastly, just a quick update from Albany. I spent Sunday and Monday and part of Tuesday in Albany for our yearly legislative lobbying day as superintendents from all throughout the state. This year was a little bit different than most because most legislators are not back in Albany yet. So normally we spend a decent amount of time meeting with them in person, kind of talking about what our initiatives are, what our needs are. So the fact that most of them weren't there, that kind of took away a little bit from the weekend. However, on the positive side, we meet with them regularly through Zoom. So we probably are talking to them more now than we ever have. The other piece about it is most times superintendents go to Albany and we complain about money and that we're shortchanged on our foundation aid and money issues. But if you've been up to speed on that the past 2 years, you'll know that the state has made a commitment to fully fund public education over a 3-year span. This year is the second year of the 3-year span. So Rome is a huge benefactor of that process. So we don't have money to really lobby about right now. So some of the issues that we are lobbying about, so folks understand, we are lobbying for an increase in the wages that a retiree from public education can earn in the face of the substitute teacher shortage and that crisis. Retirees are capped at earning $35,000 a year if they go back into public service after they retire. So there is a lobbying effort to get that price increased or that amount increased so we can use our resources or our retirees better throughout the state to help fill some of the voids. There's also a proposal out there to increase there's a portion of reserves that districts have to keep 4% of their total budget in a specific reserve, and they can't go more than that. So a good analysis, if you think about our total budget being in about the $125 million range, 4% of that is not a lot of money in a savings account if something catastrophic were to happen. So municipalities are allowed to keep 10% in that reserve fund. The governor is asking to have the public school district reserve fund increased up to as much as 16% of their budget can be kept in reserve. So that's out there. I don't know, as we all know how negotiations go, probably won't be 16%, but probably won't remain at 4%, probably land somewhere in the middle. There is an advocacy effort out there to get set aside funding for CTE programming throughout the state. So what that means is right now, pre-K, there's a separate set aside within state funding for pre-K programs, for kindergarten programs to start up if you don't have full day kindergarten. There's a set aside for community schools that's been out there for a number of years. We're asking the governor to set aside pockets of money just for CTE programming. So you can expand what you're doing either in-house or with your BOCES programs of CTE. So that's another advocacy effort that people are looking at asking for better return on investment for hiring BOCES staff. So for those that don't know, some of the employees that work with our students here are, or just in general, their staff, they are contracted through BOCES. There is a regulation that caps the amount of aid we can receive on those employees coming from BOCES. And that is, we can only get aid on the first $30,000 of their salary. The problem with that is when that law went into effect in the 1980s, the average salary of those employees was $30,000. That's why they came up with that number. They haven't changed that law in over 40 years. Now the average cost of those employees is about $65,000 a year. So we're simply asking for that number to be raised to what the average cost or the average salary of the employee is so that we can draw aid on the money that we're putting in. So all in all, there's some things on the table that are not just about foundation aid, but I don't know where any of it will land, but when things flush out, I will be certain to give everybody an update. I'm not talking about the governor's budget runs or the state budget this year for the first time ever. It feels very awkward for me because it's normally all I talk about at this time of year, but that does look good. And we do anticipate to see a good state budget when that is finalized, specifically for all public schools, but Rome especially should. We should have a good year when it comes to the state budget. So with that, I turn it back to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Alana, student member report.
Hello, everyone. I just have a few things to cover tonight. This week, we started our spring Kid Fusion events. It's been really successful. We have a lot of kids. Honestly, we have more than we had in the fall, so it's nice to see more participation from everyone. For those who might not know what Kid Fusion is, It is events during lunch and after school where all the grades compete against each other. So if you're a senior, you're going to compete for the senior class. And it's just a way to build some school spirit amongst us all. Right now, the seniors and the juniors are pretty close, so it's too close to call, but I'll let you guys know our next meeting who wins. Leo Club actually made some blessing bags for the Rome Rescue Mission this Tuesday, so it was a nice community service event they put together. And Senior Ball, they finally decided on what their theme is going to be, so a Google form went out to all the seniors, and the theme that won was Met Gala. So the ball for the seniors will be on June 4th at Vernon Downs. And I know last meeting I mentioned the Staff Member of the Week award we're starting at RFA. We actually got that off the ground and it's been really successful. Last week was our first week doing it and Mr. Britton was the teacher selected. So congratulations to him and we'll find out our next winner tomorrow. And that's all I have on behalf of RFA tonight.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, the meeting is open for public comment. If you wish to speak and have not already done so, please complete a comment card in this environment. This is an opportunity to appear before the school board and express your views concerning agenda items and district affairs. We ask that you limit your remarks to 5 minutes. All public speakers are asked to refrain from making personal attacks on district employees and elected officials. Be advised that your comments do not enjoy the same privilege and immunity as statements made by members of the Rome Board of Education, that defamatory or obscene statements are prohibited. Please note that unless specifically indicated on the agenda, this time is not a question and answer period. There's no exchange of conversation with the members of the board or executive staff. However, if your comments require your response, every effort will be made to respond to your inquiry within a reasonable time frame. Thank you for your cooperation. And our first speaker is Rob Woods.
Fire from over here.
That's fine.
So, yeah, thank you. And the old commercial, you know, no pain, no gain. So this board has been tasked to look into redistricting. And in a leap of faith, I believe you're listening to the voices that are out there. And I'm looking to the future, not the recent past, that there's so much hope and there's so much greatness that can come out of the decisions that you make. Me personally, when I'm asked which proposal do you like, I don't answer it in that manner. Instead, as union president of the Rome Teachers Association, we've always stood by it. If it's good for the community and if it's good for the kids and it's good for the workforce, we're behind it 100%. And to frame that with some pictures, you know, it would be equity. It would be that the music and the art have their own roles, that the counselors and our social workers, and thank you so much for the addition of the social workers, that they have their own space so that every single community has exactly what that community needs. Because that's what we're here for. We're here for the children. If we can pave a way for them in the immediate future, I'm frankly, sidebar, a little concerned about next year as we optimistically move to the grand changes to make this district even greater. The sidebar is if we can make sure that we have something for next year, awesome as far as any changes. But yeah, we're here for the kids and their futures, and I'm looking optimistically that this glass is half full. And so I thank you for your upcoming decisions because they're going to be for the good of the order. So thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Our next speaker is Christina Sturries.
I'm here, or am I okay?
You're fine there.
I'm here too. Good, okay. Well, first, as always, thanks for listening. It's always much appreciated that we can come and speak. I'm Chris Sturries, and I'm a Rome resident. I'm also a teacher at Stroud Middle School, the vice president of the Rome Teachers Association. I wanted to speak mostly as a teacher today and community member. And I know there's a lot going on with all the redistricting. So there are just some things that I wanted to bring forward. And I apologize because I'm sure some of these are conversations that the board has already had, but just in case they haven't been, some points that I'm hoping that you will consider. And I know that pretty much everyone's aware that transitions, when we're talking about redistricting, that's one of the clear-cut areas where we can see clearly that there's data that supports drop in performance and attendance between major transitions. So just as a reminder that when we're looking at the transition piece, that we're kind of keeping that at the forefront of what goes on. In Rome, historically, in the past, that 8th to 9th grade transition has typically been one of the more difficult. And one of the proposals that's come up with the 2 5 through 8 buildings. One of the things I worry about a little bit is that 8th to 9th grade is already an area of increased difficulty. And if that's also the first time 2 different cohorts are coming together, and the first time that we're going to see credit-bearing coursework that the students absolutely have to pass for credit, that we kind of keep that in mind. Another piece is developmentally with the middle school model and combinations of kids. Again, with the 5 through 8, I have heard some concerns about even transportation, putting 5th graders with 8th graders on the same school bus. That's an area of concern. Curriculum wise, the state curriculum is banded. The middle school banding is 6 through 8, not 5 through 8. If we have 2 split schools, another concern is that historically the middle school model, there's been some increased discussion about adding 5, 6, 7, 8 as a middle school. But if you look at the research, it's kind of split 50-50. There are some districts now who are actually going back to a K-8 model or a K-6 model where they're pulling the 6th graders out because you have increased disciplinary issues and they're finding that it's not necessarily working out as well. So 6 through 8, most of our elementary staff, if you speak to them, they support the 6 being a part of the middle school and feel like that would be a good transition. And that would also probably help us as 7th and 8th grade teachers to transition those 6th graders and maybe alleviate some of those transition issues. But if the research is split and we now take another grade level down with 5th grade, if it's already maybe a little more contentious than originally thought, maybe pulling that additional grade level would not be the best idea. As far as teacher collaboration, I know that's one of the things redistricting, one of the big goals of that is to increase professional development, opportunities and teacher collaboration. And right now at Stroud, we have all of our 7th and 8th grade teachers together. So if you split the staff, you're actually kind of doing the exact opposite by taking those teachers and now removing those opportunities that are there. Also, one of the other things with the student experience, a lot of our encore areas, we have an orchestra, a band, a chorus, athletic teams, activities, clubs. So a concern would be, are we going to duplicate all of these in 2 different schools? How's the staff going to be split? Those are all additional things too. Just hoping that you'll keep those in mind with the different proposals. Also with the community, from the forums and such, it sounds like so far that from the staff, the thought exchanges, and just what the public has shared, that the greatest base of support has been the K-5 with the 6th annex. It would be nice. I know we've thought that we'd like to see what the architects have come up with for the 6th grade annex at Stroud to see how viable that is. They stated at an earlier meeting that was figured out. So it would be nice to be able to see that. And just again, thanks for all the work on this. Thanks for your time, and just hoping that those are some things that you'll give some additional consideration when you guys are looking at the different proposals. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Our next speaker is Jared Buttonsback.
Good afternoon. Thank you for everybody hearing what I have to say today. I'm here today to shed a little light on some of the struggles in our elementary school. I do want to say that I'm not here on behalf of Dansport, where I work now. I'd like to give a shout out to our building leadership, Mrs. Juliot and Mrs. Hess. They've created an amazing work environment that we're working in this year. I'm here because I've had the privilege of traveling around to the other elementary schools, and after speaking with a few of the teachers in the other elementary schools, I was kind of struck with some of the problems that we had in Staley, and I came and spoke, I believe it was last year and the year before, seemed to have kind of melted into the other schools. And they wanted me to come and shed some light and to see if we could get some help. Especially, we were meeting with a few Bellamy teachers, and that has become clear that all the problems that Staley was experiencing and that I spoke about is there. The lack of equality amongst the services is one of the big ones for them. Many students are not receiving tier 2, tier 3 services because of the size, the diversity of the students, support that they can provide. It was definitely more relevant when students transfer from school to school. They've had many students who come from one school, our own elementary school, to their school, and they were receiving tier 3 math and ELA services. And when they go to Bellamy, they cannot be provided those services because of how big they are and how our the lack of equity amongst our services. So I know I spoke about the lowest 30% of each school. Now we talked about that some schools 30%, their lowest 30% who is being serviced is far cry from the lowest 30% of another school. So I guess today I'm here because we've talked about with the district, they've created a plan of our future. You guys have held many community meetings, district meetings, and even hired an outside consultant firm. As a teacher, I am hopeful that the path that we choose will be one that's best for our students and our community. I'm very excited with the progress that is being made, but I'm not here for the path of like the 3 years or 10 years down the road. I'm here for today, I'm here for tomorrow, and especially here for what we're looking at next year. As a teacher, we learn and we know that we're here to put the students first. Our district definitely always pushes us to put the students first, put their needs, their emotions, their equality, and their education. I can definitely say that the environment in a few of our elementary schools that we have now, that is not the case. As a board, I guess I ask that you send help development, just like you did for Staley, send some support. I definitely ask that you help create a plan for tomorrow. And most importantly, we create a plan we focus on the 2022-2023 school year. So that way, all the equity that all of our students deserve and need in a learning environment that they so desperately need, we can provide for them. And I thank you for you guys hearing the words. I spoke with, like I said, many other staff members, and I'm just giving you a chance today to meet with you guys and talk. And thank you for everything you've done so far.
Thank you, Jared. And as you guys know, that's one of the things we're juggling now is the space problems that we have with one less school. So that's all part of the redistricting thing. So there's a lot of balls up in here. So we're working on it. Okay, our next speaker is Beth Ann Edwards.
Hi, my name is Beth Edwards, and I am proud to be a teacher of the Indigo Knights at Straw Middle School. Chris Sturries and I have worked together for 15 years, and sometimes she says some things and then I add on to it. One of the things that I'm really interested in is research, and of course the research is inconclusive about redistricting. I did see an interesting research study that's about 5 years old, coming out of Virginia, where they followed grades 6, 7, and 8 from all their schools in Virginia, and they tested and their test scores on the, let me get this right because I always standards of learning tests. I keep saying that wrong. And it's quite funny, but I'm not sure it's appropriate for this forum. Anyway, what they found was, regardless, they controlled for urbanicity, school enrollment size, percentage of minority students, percentage of students on free and reduced lunch. And, you know, not everybody likes research as much as I do. So I'll summarize. The results said that the longer a student stays in elementary school, the higher their school scores will be on those standardized tests throughout the rest of their academic career. There were some, obviously, you know, to go through and say what things were faulty about that. I also am here. I've been teaching, I'm in my 36th year, and not all of them were here at Rome City School District. I have a daughter who's a senior in high school, and she wants to go into education, and I'm trying to talk her out of it. Don't get me wrong, I love my job and I love my kids, and I'm going to shout out to them in a few minutes with some fantastic news. When I talk with people that I started with, and I was already into my career by many years, and they are looking for jobs outside of education, and they're fantastic teachers, something's wrong. And I know you guys have your own things that are on your plate, and I'm glad I don't have things that are on your plate. I don't want to lose these people. They're great teachers. And right now, we are overwhelmed, just like the elementary schools are, but for different reasons. My classroom is right across from a boys' bathroom. I cannot tell you the number of times a day kids on my team will come over and say, Mrs. Edwards, you need to call the custodian. You need to call the custodian. You need to call the custodian. Now, Mrs. Edwards, the wedge is out of the door. And kids are throwing them in the toilets or throwing them out the windows. I prefer them go out the windows, not prefer them for the stain where they are. But when someone I had never seen before, not somebody that works this job, I think it was a sub, turned to me and said, you really ought to do more about watching that door. Okay, I wasn't very polite. I said, yes, but I'm pretty sure with the money they're paying me, I'm supposed to be in my classroom, not in the hallway. We need some help, and we're drowning in paperwork, and we're drowning in writing kids up. Do I write them up for their cell phone, for the fact that they're wearing their hood, or for the fact that they literally are running around my room in the middle of the test? Take your pick. I have to call down to the office if I ask a child to please get out of student support and leave a message if the person's not there to answer the phone. If I don't, then they will be sent immediately back to my room. Okay, so I just keep them. Does that mean my other kids don't get taught? And please believe me, I've got 35 years of classroom management, including with aggressive and violent youth. I'm not talking, just out of the air. We need help. And I think that's true in all our buildings. I don't think it's just true in mine. We need help. On the other hand, we hear over and over and over that our kids, because of COVID, have fallen behind. And I've got one of my students here right now. And I gave a test that I've given every year at the end of this unit. And I'm sorry, I'm going to start to cry because I'm so proud of them. They took their test. The kids who took it and finished. Their range of scores are the same as they were in 2020. They are just 2 or 3 points off of 2018, and they are spot on for 2016. My kids, our kids, Sturries teaches them too. What they've lost, they're gaining. And they're going to be able to be perfectly all right. And I cannot tell you how proud I am of how hard they're working. I'm going to cry now.
Really hard. And Dennis Perfetti.
I'm back. I have a couple questions before we get into the meat of things. This list of the people that we're going to send to California, apparently the district's got a lot of cash. There's an extra seat I'd like to go. You can drop me off in Vegas. We'll all be good with that. How many of them are up for election this year?
4 seats.
Is it the 4 that we're sending? No, it's not. Well, one of them is. Has the investigation from the state of New York been completed on Miss David shot?
This isn't a question and answer.
Yeah, but no, it isn't, because but it relates to something. Is it completed yet?
No.
Okay, then she should not go on that trip. She should not go, because if it is proven and she's going to be taken off the board, we're wasting money. Now, from all I hear from you guys and the mayor and everybody else, is this city ain't got no money to waste. She should not go. That's common sense. I was in the car dealership, in the car business for 38 years. I wouldn't send somebody who was on the verge of getting fired to a training that I had to pay for. It makes no sense. You're going to lose teachers like her. You're going to lose all the talent. You know why? Because you guys don't listen. Are you confident? Oh, my next question, I gotta have an answer to this one. Where did we find the model for the redistricting? Where did we search for this one? Somebody? Anybody? Do we know? Or you're just not going to answer it, John?
Not gonna answer. We're not just going to back and forth.
Well, but no, it's not a back and forth, but it's important to know because if you guys are so confident about this redistricting, got a vote coming in May, put it on the ballot. Let the people who pay the taxes and have their kids in school make the decision, unless you're not confident in the proposal you put up there. Because if you all sitting around this table are confident, then you should put it to a vote, and not a vote of 9, a vote of the entire city. That's where this should go. The city should make a decision because it's the city's kids. It's not your kids. It's not my kids. It's not Mez's kids. It's the city of Rome's kids. It's not Joe Malachi's kids. It's the city of Rome's kids. So why aren't we putting it on the ballot? I know you're not going to answer that question either. This is ridiculous. I mean, you guys are just doing stuff that makes no sense. Jeff went to Michigan to find his little model. How'd that work? Now Staley's uninhabitable. You can't put people in there. It was because of one rainstorm? No, that's been going on for 30 years. But you know what? You just kept shuffling kids in because it made sense when we were going to close this school and close that school and we're going to redistrict it. Stop. The wheel's round. Let's not try to reinvent it. And you don't have to look at me or pay attention to me. I don't really care, but I promise you, I will be in your face every board meeting, because this is nonsense now. And let's get on to the other subject of how no one has a decision from the state of New York. This is insane. I'm calling the education department tomorrow. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to call Congressman. I'm going to call Senator. I'm going to call everybody. I'm going to call everyone. Because unless this district condones bullying, you have no choice but to cut the leash. Because that's bullying in its truest sense. Now you're telling us about how we have to talk when we come in and address you. But you can have a board member speak the way they speak to kids, coaches, people on the street, and an administrator. I got a little birdie chirping in my ear about how the president of the board and the vice president of the board had a verbal confrontation with an administrator. What is going on? Have we all lost our minds? This is nonsense. I've also been told in a text message saying that there are a lot of you that don't support Miss Davis being on the board. And whoever you are, I didn't get names, I didn't ask, I don't care. I applaud you. We're trying to turn this city around. We're trying to make the right investments. I own 2 businesses in this city. Okay, 2 businesses. So I know what goes on. You don't turn it around. You aren't getting them high-paying jobs. You're not getting them people to come live in this city. Because the tax difference right now between here and New Hartford or here in Clinton is not as crazy as you think it is. Or in Whitesboro. It's not. And they will drive 20 minutes down that highway to make sure that their kids get an education.
Your 5 minutes up, Dennis. Can you wrap it up? Your 5 minutes.
Yeah, I just want to know how come Clinton and New Hartford and Whitesboro aren't coming up with these grandiose plans. You know why? Because it doesn't make sense. And they listen to their people. I've been to Clinton board meetings. There's way more people in there than there are there because the board listens. We don't sit there and stare at people and say we're not going to answer questions. They're legitimate questions. So nobody knows where this model for this came from. Is that what you're telling me? Or you're not going to tell me? Okay, so then I guess we're going to have to call you out in the paper.
What I tell you, Dennis, is you ought to get more informed.
I am informed.
This board hasn't made a decision, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, but you want to make a decision. The reason you're not making a decision is because you're getting pushback like you didn't think you were going to get. Okay. Just put it to the
vote. Your time's up. Time.
Yeah, we'll sit down. We'll sit down.
Wish people would be informed when they talk to us.
Excuse me?
I just wish people would be informed.
We are informed. I wish you'd get informed.
Okay. Okay, going to the regular agenda now. First item is actually commendation. Resolution for commendation.
You doing the one study?
Oh, no. Chris, you're
This
done.
was like, darn.
Yeah.
He thought he was set. Yeah, you were like, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Chris. Winter benchmark.
Okay, so thank you, everybody. I just, before you have four pieces of data that we went over in the educational programs meeting the other day, a little bit more in depth. Just wanted to bring you back through that, what those four pieces are. What we're talking about for the public is our winter benchmarking data at the elementary level for K through 6, taking a look specifically at reading and writing, or excuse me, reading and math. I'm very proud to say overall as a district for K-12, we're very proud of the students, the teachers, and the administrators of each building. Overall as a district, we raised our scores in every area as a district. I also broke it down for you by school. The first piece of data that we take a look at is called the Percentile Rate. And that takes a look at how our students perform in reading and math across their peers across the entire country. We look at the 40th percentile rank. That's what it's normed at with the STAR assessment that we use. And what that number means is that our students performed better than 40% of the students across the nation at that grade level when you look at that. So as you go through these packets, the very first bit of information that you'll see is the district data. And then I've broken that down by school. So the first one is the percentile rank, first packet that you have. The second way that we look at this data benchmarking, and this is the most accurate as far as what our kids could possibly perform on the 3-8 assessment in the spring. We take a look at the January benchmark or the winter benchmark, and that gives us a best predictor of where our kids might be at. When you take a look at this on the state performance level, I have the level 2, level 3, and level 4 highlighted for you. And at the end, you'll notice it says at or near proficiency. That's a percentage of students at the grade level, at the district level on the first page, and then again, by grade level, by school, and the others. The green, when you see, wherever you see green at, is the percent rank that we went up. If you see a yellow, we stayed pretty much even there. There wasn't much movement at that part. And then in the red, that's where we saw some decline this benchmarking period. Any questions so far? Okay. The last piece of information that you have is the instructional reading level. We take a look at that again by district. And then by each individual school and by grade level. And the instructional level will tell you that cohort or that group of students, what grade level they can be, have instructional material at, where they can be most successful. So if you look at that again, you'll see progressions in there. You'll see some areas where we need, where we stayed even, some areas where we might still need a little bit of work from the fall to the winter benchmark. And the last part of the data that I have for you is a grade equivalency. Now, this doesn't mean because we have a second grader that has a 9.0 to a 9.5 that they can successfully read at the 9th grade level. But what that means is when they took that exam, they scored the same scaled score as a 9th grader taking that exam at that particular time. Again, that's broken up by district by grade, and then also school by grade, and same pattern. Green means that we've improved, and red means that we went down in that particular area, and yellow means we stayed the same. Just so you're familiar, when you see a PP at the top, we're talking about a pre-primer level. Okay, that's kind of before they're really into reading. And then you'll see there's one where you'll see we increase to a P, which is a primer level, and then it begins at the 1 to 1.9, 2 to 2.9, so on and so forth. Any questions on that? Any questions from last Ed programs meeting for the folks that were there? Happy to go over any other points that you have in there. Okay. Okay.
Very
Thank you.
efficient.
Thanks, everybody.
Commendation. Commendation. Where the members of Rome Free Academy girls basketball team, coached by El Devalacqua. The boys ice hockey team, coached by Jason Nowicki. The boys winter track team, coached by Billy Mays. The girls volleyball team, coached by Peter K. The girls bowling team, coached by Brian Rondeau. And the boys varsity swimming and diving team, coached by Michelle Brown, have demonstrated a high standard of excellence, receiving from the New York State Public High School Athletic Association the Scholar Athlete Team Award by achieving a winter marking period average of 90% or higher. And whereas members of the Rome Free Academy girls basketball team, the boys ice hockey team, the boys winter track team, the girls volleyball team, the girls bowling team, and the boys varsity swimming and diving team have brought credit to themselves, their teachers, their families, their coaches, and in turn to the Rome City School District. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools do hereby extend their congratulations to the members of the Rome Free Academy girls basketball team, the boys ice hockey team, the boys winter track team, the girls volleyball team, the girls bowling team, and the boys varsity swimming and diving team for such outstanding academic achievements. And be it further resolved that the clerk of the Board's education be and hereby is directed to spread this resolution on the minutes of tonight's meeting. I move the resolution.
Second.
And by Mr. Haggard. Any discussion?
I just want to state that Mr. Rondo, the girls bowling coach, is here in the test. Good. Congratulations, Ron.
Congratulations.
Good job. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Brian, you come up and grab the mic.
I do have a couple of girls here too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Great job.
Get your hand shook by the Board of Education.
Great job.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
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 Another great year.
Congratulations.
I know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome. Congratulations. Thank you.
Don't be embarrassed. It's okay. Be proud.
Okay, very good. That was good. Okay. Commendation number 2, recommended resolution commendation. Whereas the Board of Education of the Rome City School District encourages academic excellence and wishes to continue such excellence whenever possible. And whereas Dominic Cangioliosi, Loren Dorfman, Lillian Gilroy, Lillian Minicosi, Kelly O'Neill, Madison Short, Adriana Verano, and Alexander Woodard have received a scholarship for academic excellence for their outstanding achievement from Rome Free Academy. And whereas Dominic Cangioliosi, Loren Dorfman, Lillian Gilroy, Lillian Minicosi, Kelly O'Neill, Madison Short, Adriano Verano, and Alexander Woodward has brought credit to themselves, their teachers, and in turn to the Rome City School District. Now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools do hereby congratulate and commend Dominic Cangioliosi, Loren Dorfman, Lillian Gilroy, Lillian Minicosi, Kelly O'Neill, Madison Short, Adriana Verano, and Alexander Woodward, who have demonstrated outstanding academic achievement throughout their high school years. And be it further resolved that the clerk of the Board of Education be and hereby is directed to spread this resolution on the minutes of tonight's meeting. I move the resolution. Seconded by Mr. Malachi. Any discussion? Do we have any of these students here?
There was a concept.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. Consent agenda, it's on pages 3 through 6. Resolution to accept consent agenda. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the consent agenda be accepted by the Board of Education. I move the resolution.
Second.
Second by Mrs. BOE. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Starting on page 7. Finance. Action item number 1. Motion to appointment of election inspectors. Resolved that the following individuals are appointed as election inspectors of the 10 school election districts, which shall align with the City of Rome election wards, be appointed for the Rome City School District Capital Project vote to be held on Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022, that they be paid for this service, with the superintendent of school or his designee being authorized to fill any vacancies and make location assignments. And the list is on page 7. I move the resolution. Says by Mr. Haggard. Any discussion? On favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution action item number 2. Resolution to accept donation. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the donation of books and $6,000 to support literacy activities in all K-6 buildings from Mother Cabrini Health Foundation Read to Them program. I move the resolution. Seconded by Ms. McGurl. Any discussion? On favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Discussion now. Now the committee report.
Yeah, I think so. We can just try and get the time together to do one last budget workshop to walk you guys through some of the decisions that we made to get down to the number that the board was requesting. That way we can be busy. Okay, to send the Google. Would you like us to do Pull it up.
Send me on Wednesday. How about next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday, I think is our study.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let's do it then.
Google always.
That's what we're gonna do.
You'll be getting a doodle.
All right.
You said check your email for the doodle.
Okay.
You'll find out.
Okay, great.
Okay, committee reports. The audit and finance committee met on March 8th, the morning of March 8th. We went over some one-cap reports to try to get an idea of what information they could give us, the finance department, and I think we were satisfied with them. Karen, Paul, any comments on that? And we talked about the audit charter, which we reviewed, in the hands of Ferrara now for legal opinion and any modifications. And we also talked about the meeting minutes would be posted on a website, but we would not on the website or on the drive, but we wouldn't be voting on them every meeting. That's what we decided. On the finance committee side, our tax cap paperwork was submitted. The number was 2.51%. We looked over the furniture consultant. We talked about the furniture consultant RFP. We received three proposals, and the finance committee is going to hear presentations from all three, and then there will be some internal scoring by whoever's designated, and we'll come up with on that. But the RFP would be going out after it already has it. It was
released on Wednesday.
Okay. And talk about the, okay, good. And we talked about the budget transfers that were on the consent agenda. And we received January's treasurer's report this week, and we should begin February's. And our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 5th at 10 a.m. Any questions on anything that's gone over? Finance or audit? Next, facilities. Mr. Hager.
No, facilities has not yet, but we do have an upcoming meeting on Tuesday, March 15th at 4:30, and that meeting will be at RFA, and the purpose will be to review the number of the facility projects that have taken place at RFA over the last years. Things like
the pool actually will be filled by next Tuesday. So you should be able to see the operational natatorium, as they call it.
So, and there's a lot of other more subtle ones that.
Can meet in the lobby.
Yeah, I think we can meet in the lobby. We'll do a quick tour and then we can meet. That's okay. That's what Actually, I should ask, are there people that want to go on a tour that can't be there at 4:30 and a later tour would be more beneficial?
No, I can do that.
I just want to make sure that folks are coming. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Thank you.
While we're on the subject, many of you probably saw this, but Michelle Brown, the coach of the boys swim team this year, sort of a little testimony to the team because they've had a very successful year in terms of winning. But in particular, she talked about the trials and tribulations of competing and practicing and how that, and also using the school for the went above and beyond. And it was a really nice write-up on the show. Nice. I think it was on Facebook.
As Ms. Edwards astutely pointed out, kids are resilient and adaptive.
Yep, they sure are.
It's good to see that they're flourishing despite many obstacles. Kudos to them and their instructors.
Yes. Thank you for everything. Educational program, Dr. Santana.
I haven't had it exercise in a long time.
Wow.
So I shall say, resolution to approve the 2022-2023 school calendar resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the school calendar for the 2022-2023 school year. I move the resolution.
Second.
And by
Danielle. Ms.
Ms.
Lebecky.
any discussion?
Not much to say because Chris, he's got the reports. I think.
What was the discussion on the calendar?
Oh, shucks.
It's your item. It's your, it's your item. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries.
I haven't done this in a while.
I know,
Okay,
I know.
it's,
Starting tomorrow, people can schedule their vacation.
yeah.
And I'm sure that you know.
So no further committee reports because Chris went through it all.
Yes,
Correct.
that is correct. We have our next meeting. This is the time you start going to meet like twice a month because there's a lot to cover, but we're doing great. So, oh, did they have a copy? I know it's online, but could I give them a hard copy of this so that they, I don't know if they have it, of the data, right? There's something, who wants it? Jared or Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
just a hard copy, just so.
Just the end of this, Mr. Brewer.
Right. This week, yeah.
Okay, that's kind of you.
Thank you. Welcome.
This copy is available too.
I know, I'm on it.
That's hilarious.
Well, you should be proud of it.
Way to waste the tree, Brewer.
Well, then go to waste.
I know.
You're welcome.
Budget another $10.
Here's my other one, so you're good. Okay.
2110 450 COPY. Minus 10.
Plus the staples.
Plus the staples.
That's right. People operations, Mr. Malachi.
I never have a shortage of items. So
I
if you ever want to share.
I will help you read this. I'll just like page.
All right, action item 1, resolution to appoint instructional personnel. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints the following instructional personnel: Joanne Drew, teacher, special education, BA 30 step plus 9 plus MS, salary 55 440 prorated, effective date 4/19/22 to 4/18/26, and move the resolution.
Second.
Second by Ms. Reddick. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Resolution 2, or action item 2. Resolution to appoint instructional personnel probationary. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints the following instructional personnel probationary as listed in action item 2, page 8 of the agenda. I move the resolution.
Second.
And then Ms. Reddick, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Action item 3, resolution to appoint non-instructional personnel provisional. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints the following non-instructional personnel provisional: Kelly Rutledge, supported learning, positions office specialist, 12 months, 8 hours per day, salary $30,809.87 prorated, effective date April 1, 2022 or sooner. I move the resolution.
Second.
Second by Ms. Reddick, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Action item 4, resolution to appoint non-instructional personnel probationary. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints the following non-instructional personnel probationary as listed in action item 4, page 9 of the resolution of the agenda, regular agenda. I move the resolution.
Second.
Second by Ms. Reddick, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Action item 5, resolution to spring point. Yeah, that should be a point. Point.
You caught it.
Bring sports personnel. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, Board of Education hereby appoints the following spring sport personnel as listed at action item 5, page 9 of the agenda. Move the resolution.
Second.
And Ms. Reddick. Discussion? Please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Item 6, resolution to appoint spring coaching personnel. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints the following spring coaching personnel as listed in action item 6, page 10 of the regular agenda. I move the resolution.
Second.
Second by Ms. Reddick, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Action item 7, resolution to adjust retirement date. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby adjusts the following individuals' retirement date: Linda Baker, teacher at Stroud, from June 30, 2022 to July 12, 2022. I move the resolution.
Second.
Second by Ms. Reddick, any discussion?
This is why I asked.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah.
Okay, action item 8, resolution to accept retirement. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby accepts with regret the retirement of the following individuals: Ellen Lerner, physical therapist, Dente Elementary, effective date 9/11/2022. I move the resolution.
Second.
Second by Ms. Reddick. Any discussion? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
The answer for that one is definitely yes.
Okay,
And
good.
thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you. So committee reports. Sometimes I feel like it's a little redundant since almost everybody's at the committee meeting anyway. But some of the things that we touched upon, Upbeat was one of the things that the contractor, they're going to come in and do some of the climate surveys and the outgoing surveys of people that are retiring. There was some question as to the length of the original discussion as to what the length of the contract was going to be and the compensation. Jeff said he's going to try to get that information report, of course, for tonight. But this is
So he was not feeling well. You can do what is essentially a 2.5-year contract. If you go out beyond next year, they would offer a 5% discount on the yearly rate. It's about $34,000 a year for the total package. And the total package is exit surveying for anybody that leaves the district for any reason in any bargaining unit to get more information about why. 3 times a year climate surveying of all staff that is normed against national school districts to see how we compare to other school districts across the nation in terms of whatever issues people will face. And then it also has a leadership training component where each of the principals gets professional development based on their building's survey results to help improve the lowest rated topics within their building for their staff based on, again, national norms and different things that have been across the country. So it's a pretty comprehensive program that involves surveying and professional development. It's $34,000 a year, 5% less if we signed up for a contract that would expire in 2025, is it? 2024. Sorry, 2024.
I mean, I was super impressed with the presentation. I'm very excited about the services that they're providing the district. I just wanted, initially when they made their initial presentation, I was under the impression it would be a little bit longer than the contractors.
It's a yearly service.
Yeah. So I thought for some reason in my mind I had 3 years. But maybe I was wrong. I misread or misinterpreted something they were saying. But if we can do it for a longer period of time at less money, or get some sort of discount for doing a longer period of time, I'm not opposed to that. I don't know how everybody else feels, and take some time. We should certainly discuss that at the next meeting. But I think that a little bit longer commitment might be better, and will help them to get a better idea of what we need here, and then maybe give them an opportunity to provide comparable data in different years, rather than just doing what essentially is what the rest of this year and the next.
Right. So we would do one climate survey at the end of this year. Right. So we have a norm to base off for the fall, and then 2 surveys next year.
So
they still do the exit because we are
yes, so
the
exit surveying, they're going to go back to July 1 of 2021. Okay. So they're going to, because the way the exit survey works is they use the person's personal home phone number, cell phone number, email, not the district email, and they reach out to them. The company reaches out to them specifically as a third party to ask questions about the exit. So,
I mean, I think it would be good so the employees get used to the same company, year after year too. So a little bit longer doesn't bother me.
Just in terms of data analysis, I think it makes sense to do it. And then I think the only other thing I wanted to discuss regarding our meeting was we are having some difficulty still attracting anybody for the district position, even though we bumped it up from 0.4 to 0.6. So there may have to be further discussion of how we want to handle that in the event that we don't get any candidates. We want to try to maybe look at it becoming a full-time position, or move some other people around to handle the duties of the district clerk, which is something that's been somewhat of a nightmare up to this point, but we may not have any choice. So just want to put that on everybody's radar. Not little interest, no interest. So just something for everyone to consider. So our next committee meeting is Tuesday, March 22nd, the same day as the district vote at 4:30 p.m. So it'll be a good reminder for everybody who comes to the meeting, if they have to vote already, they should vote. That's my report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Malassi. Policy, Tanya, you got anything to report on? Tanya?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. No updates at this point. I still just need to follow up on getting that next section. And then once we do that, I was looking at the calendar. I don't have my notebook in front of me. Did we set a date? Because I don't.
No, we don't have a date.
I thought we had decided on a date, but okay. All right, then let me see what I hear back from NISPA about getting the 2000 section, and then we can go from there, because it looks like I know we were waiting on the next meeting regarding the redistricting too. So let's see what else we have coming up, and then we'll decide from there.
Okay.
Did we finish, Tanya? Did we finish the 1000s?
Yeah, I'm going through my notes on that. Remember, we had the confusion of, we thought that everything on the list were the ones that we had to do. So we kind of reviewed all of them. Then she had said, oh no, only the ones in bold are the ones. So I just need to double check all of that. Again, I was hoping that we were going to have everything in board docs, so that I would be looking at the clean new sections, and then from 2000 on that. So I'm still going through my list to cross-reference all of those. Did you forward anything to Courtney at NISPA of what we've updated this year?
If you send me.
No, I have not, so I will turn it.
Okay, so I think it's kind of going to be a check and balance between NISBA and us when they look at our zeros and our 1000s. But I think there might have been one or two that we still had some questions on that we did not pass. So I'll work through those and look for that section 2000, and then we can schedule another meeting.
Okay, thank you, David.
Thanks.
It's like someone's wood stove. That's what it's smelling like. It's okay, Lisa. I got your back.
Yeah, that was.
Miscellaneous business.
No, okay.
1, resolution to approve superintendent's conference. Resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the following conference for superintendent of schools. It's listed on the agenda on page 11. I move the resolution.
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Fontana. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution number 2, resolution to approve National School Boards Association Conference. Resolved that the Board of Education hereby approve the following conference for the listed members and superintendent on April 2nd, 2022 through April 4th, 2022. I move the resolution.
Second.
Sent by Ms. Reddick. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Number 3, resolution to nominate a member to the BOCES board. Resolved that the Board of Education of the Rome City School District nominates Suzanne Carvelli for a seat currently held by Suzanne Carvelli for the office of a member of the Board of Cooperative Educational Services. I move the resolution. Second by Mr. Haggerty. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Want me to get the rest of them?
Sure.
Miscellaneous business action item 4, resolution to appoint the Board of Registration and alternates for Rome City School District. Resolved that the following members of the Board of Registration of the City School District of Rome, New York, are appointed to the prescribed term of 1 year beginning March 1, 2022. Martha Shaler, Kathy Jo Britton. And be it further resolved that the following persons are appointed to serve on the Board of Registration of the City School District of the City of Rome, New York, in the event that either or both of said members are needed. Alternates Carol Van Court and Kim Seifert. And be it further resolved that such board shall attend at the office of the Board of Education, 409 Bell Road, Rome, New York, on days to be designated by the Board of Education for the purpose of preparing to register for each school election. I move the resolution.
Second by Dr. Fontana. Any discussion? Okay, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Next item 5, resolution to establish dates of annual vote and budget hearing. Resolved that the Board of Education hereby determines that the annual school election and budget vote shall be held on May 17, 2022, or at any other legally authorized date, and that polls for the purpose of voting thereon shall be open between the hours of 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. And be it further resolved that in lieu of an annual meeting, the Board of Education shall hold a public hearing for the purpose of discussion of the expenditure of funds and the budgeting thereof for the ensuing school year. Such public hearing to be held on May 5, 2022, a date which is not more than 14 and not less than 7 days prior to the date of the annual school election and budget vote. And be it further resolved that the clerk shall give notice of the annual school election and budget vote and of the public hearing on the budget in the manner required for the annual meeting. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. I move the resolution.
Second by Dr. Fontana. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Next item 6, miscellaneous business. Resolution to set registration and election dates. Resolved that Tuesday, May 2 and Wednesday, May 3, 2022 be and hereby are fixed as registration days for the Rome City School District Board of Education election and budget vote to be held on Tuesday, May 17, 2022. And that the registration board be directed to attend at the office of the Rome City School District, 409 Bell Road, Rome, New York, on Tuesday, May 2 and Wednesday, May 3, 2022, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. for the purpose of receiving registrations. And move the resolution.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Lebecki. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Miscellaneous business action item 7, resolution authorizing the clerk to publish legal notices. Resolved that the clerk of the Board of Education be and hereby is authorized to publish the notice of annual election and public vote on the 2022-2023 school district budget legal notice as required by law as follows: once each week 4 weeks of March 30, April 8, April 15, and April 29, 2022 in the Rome Daily Sentinel and the Observer Dispatch. Move the resolution.
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Fontana. Any discussion? Okay, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Malachi. Is there any old business to discuss? I have a question. It's not old business, but if it's not the proper forum, let me know. I got a call today about Smith Post not being able to use our RFA Diamond. Do you know why that would be?
Don't know anything about
Because they've asked the last 2 years and they've been refused.
I know we had
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
So.
I know when there was COVID, we had some usage we weren't doing, but
So if they were to call me, who would they contact that?
If they haven't called me, they just have to tell them the direction to get them registered. How they have to get registered.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Anything else?
Just make a motion to go on executive session. Right? We have to go on executive.
Yes.
Okay.
Moved by Mr. Malachi, seconded by
Second.
Mrs. Bowie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now in executive session.
Actually, I'm sorry. It's motion to go into executive session to hear a student discipline. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's right.